Please video like and subscribe this channel. It started with a routine medical scan. Or at least, that's what I thought it was. I had been recruited for the Heliox Initiative, a human exchange program to the Andovar system, a joint research effort between human and alien scientists. My job was mundane: monitor planetary ecosystems, collect soil samples, test atmospheric conditions. Nothing dangerous, nothing requiring skill beyond curiosity and a steady hand. But as I entered the sleek, sterilized medical bay aboard the Stellar Research Conflux, I had no idea that my existence would literally cause an alien doctor's heart to skip a beat. Dr. Virel Nosh, the lead Andovar physician, was not subtle. 4 arms, luminescent green skin, and eyes that glowed with an intelligence so sharp it felt like they could peel thoughts from your skull. He greeted me with the proper formalities, which included an awkward handshake protocol between our species that I failed miserably. "Human subject," he said, his voice vibrating like a cello string, "step onto the scanner." I obeyed, though my stomach churned. The scanner wasn't like anything on Earth. A cylindrical chamber with strands of floating light weaving through the air, sensors extending like delicate tentacles, all humming in a rhythm that felt almost alive. "DNA scan, only 10 minutes, Virel said. "We will map your genome to our hybrid research database." I nodded, trying to act calm, even as my heart raced. I had always hated hospitals, and this was something else entirely. As the chamber activated, the floating strands of light descended over me, tracing invisible patterns, weaving through my hair and skin. I felt nothing at first. Then a strange warmth, like the sun passing through my bones. And then, I saw it. Virel froze. Literally froze. All 4 arms extended halfway, mid-motion. His chest cavity, visible through the translucent sections of his thorax, pulsed violently, then stopped for a beat. A second. Then, like a shockwave, he collapsed backward onto the floor, landing with a soft thud. "Doctor," I called, panicked. "Are you?" 2 of his assistants skittered forward, pulling him upright. He blinked at me, a strange mixture of awe, fear, and disbelief in his glowing eyes. "Impossible," he whispered. What?" I asked. My own voice sounded small. "Your DNA," he said finally, voice trembling. It shouldn't exist." I laughed nervously. I'm just human. That's my DNA. Nothing special." "No," he said, shaking his head slowly. "Not nothing special. You are a perfect genetic match to something I thought extinct. Something that," he paused, looking at me like I might evaporate. "Something that has not walked the galaxy in over 1,000 cycles." The rest of the lab froze as Virel began to examine the scanner readouts, which now glowed with an intensity one hadn't noticed before. Lines of alien code, translating into patterns that looked like life cycles, evolutionary markers, and a name I didn't recognize. "You are the last of the Eon sequence," he said finally, voice almost a whisper. "The template. The origin point for a hybrid species that combined human resilience with Andovar longevity." I laughed again, but it was more nervous this time. "Template? Hybrid species? What does that mean?" He shook his head. "It means, you are the reason our research exists. Your DNA contains sequences that were deliberately hidden in our gene pools thousands of cycles ago. You were a safeguard. A proof. And now, you've triggered it." I stared at him blankly. "So, what?" "I'm like a living science experiment." "Worse," he muttered. "You're the key." Over the next several days, the medical bay became a storm of activity. Scientists, both human and alien, swarmed around me, taking samples, running tests, whispering in codes I didn't understand. Virel himself barely left my side, pacing the lab with a strange energy that was part fear, part fascination. I cannot. How did you survive unaltered? He muttered more than once. Every eon sequence should have evolved differently. You should have had enhancements, modifications. Something. Something what? I asked, exhausted from endless days of probes and scans. Something extraordinary, he admitted finally. And yet, you're human. Entirely human. Unmodified. And yet, your genome is exactly what we've been searching for. I had to laugh at the absurdity of it all. So, I'm genetically special? That's it. People will throw me in a lab for the rest of my life. Virel's eyes glimmered with a mixture of dread and hope. Not just special. The potential in your DNA, it could reshape biology, medicine, even war strategy across the galaxy. You could rewrite life itself. I swallowed. You mean I'm dangerous? Yes, he said. And invaluable. Weeks passed, and I became a reluctant celebrity among the researchers. Protocols shifted to accommodate my presence. I even met other high-ranking officials, though they kept their distance, wary of touching me, scanning me, or breathing too close. Every time Virel's eyes met mine, I saw the same fear flicker, a reminder that he had, for one terrifying second, thought my very existence might destabilize his heart. It was absurd, when you thought about it. My DNA, something I never thought about beyond the occasional allergies and minor illnesses, had become a galactic phenomenon. And yet, there were moments when it felt almost normal. Virel began explaining the eon sequence to me, in long, quiet conversations late in the lab. It's not just about genes, he said one evening, leaning on the counter while the chamber hummed softly in the corner. It's about potential. About combinations. Your body contains codes we've never successfully replicated. Every strand, every segment, it's alive in a way we cannot manufacture. Alive? I asked. Sentient in its own right, he said quietly. Capable of self-repair, adaptation, even choice. And you carry it without knowing, without activating it. Yet just your presence, your natural existence, has already caused reactions we cannot explain. I shivered, imagining a world where my very cells had the power to start wars or save millions. Virel's hand hovered over the scanner controls, almost instinctively. We were never supposed to meet you, he admitted. And yet, here you are. It wasn't long before the Galactic Council took notice. High-ranking officials demanded audits, scientists submitted emergency reports, and whispers of a human whose DNA could redefine the Andovar civilization spread like wildfire. I had been warned, this would change my life. It did. The council insisted I participate in a controlled experiment, a full hybridization trial using the eon sequence. My body became the proving ground for technologies, medicines, and strategies that would shape the galaxy. Every session with Virel was tense. He was fascinated, terrified, protective. He had confessed to me once, quietly, in the hum of the late-night lab. My heart, it stopped for a second the first time I saw your genome. I thought, if this is true, if you are what I believe you are, the universe itself could change. And I might not survive it. I laughed nervously, but I believed him. The look in his eyes was not exaggeration, it was the pure, primal shock of someone who had just seen the impossible. And the truth was, it wasn't just his heart. It was the collective heartbeat of every scientist in the lab. Everyone who looked at my DNA understood that we were on the brink of something that could never be undone. Months turned into a year. I became acclimated to the constant scrutiny. I became stronger, more resilient. The eon sequence began to manifest in subtle ways, accelerated healing, enhanced cognition, sharper senses. I could feel the potential of my own biology, pulsing beneath my skin like a second heartbeat. And through it all, Virel remained by my side, not as a scientist dictating experiments, but as a guardian, a guide. He taught me to understand what was happening to me, how to control the activation of my genetic potential, how to exist in a world that suddenly viewed me as both threat and miracle. By the end, it wasn't just my DNA that had stopped hearts, it was my presence. My choice. My existence. The final test came unexpectedly. An unexpected pathogen swept through the research station, a virus capable of infecting humans and Andovar alike. All attempts at vaccines failed. Panic gripped the station. I was the only one left untouched. My cells resisted the virus in ways that defied logic. My DNA, my natural, unmodified DNA, neutralized it instantly, providing the key to saving thousands. Virel watched me as I worked, his heart, I knew, still hammering in awe. You did it, he whispered. You just did it. Your DNA saved lives. I looked